It is the most natural thing in the world to compare ourselves to others. We compare our car to our friend's car to see if we measure up. We compare our homes to see if we have good taste in decorating. We compare our clothes. We compare our kids, pets, everything, even when we're not aware of what we're doing. Mostly we compare ourselves to make sure we are keeping up with those whose approval we value. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, June 9th, 2025. There is another reason we compare ourselves to others. We also compare ourselves to others as a way of seeking validation for our own actions. This begins at a young age. Kids early on figure out that in order to be included in the right group, they have to look, speak, and act the way the in-group acts. And that doesn't end just because we become adults. We just become a little more settled in who we are and where we fit in. Most of us no longer worry about fitting in with some imagined in-group. We know who we are and where we belong, and we know how to fit in with our group. But we still seek validation by belonging to our group. It's what we do. There's really only one problem with this, and it's what Paul addresses now in 2 Corinthians. The question he addresses is his apostolic authority, his authority to say what he needs to say to the Corinthians, even when they don't like what he says. Paul apparently had a couple of special challenges when it came to his authority. For one thing, and he alludes to it here, he apparently wasn't the best looking man. And he may have had some sort of speech impediment, or maybe he just had one of those peculiar voices that turn people off. I was talking to a ministry colleague recently about another minister we both know. He is perhaps the best preacher I have ever heard. What he can do with the biblical text is just magical. Every time I hear him, I want to do a face slap, saying to myself, why didn't I think of that? You'd think a preacher that good would be in a very large church preaching for hundreds every Sunday. But he's in a church about the same size as ours, maybe even smaller, and he's been there for many years. I don't know why this is, but I suspect it's because, like Paul, he's not tall, he's not good looking, and he has a voice that takes a little getting used to. Compared to preachers in many of what we call tall steeple churches, he just doesn't fit people's mental picture of what a slick preacher in a tall steeple church should look and sound like. But with a very few exceptions, he can preach circles around nearly any tall steeple preacher I know. Listen carefully now to Paul, and you'll hear a similar story. He writes, "Look at what is before your eyes. If you are confident that you belong to Christ, remind yourself of this, that just as you belong to Christ, so also do we." Now, even if I boast a little too much of our authority, which the Lord gave for building you up and not for tearing you down, I will not be ashamed of it. I do not want to seem as though I am trying to frighten you with my letters. For they say, his letters are weighty and strong, but his bodily presence is weak, and his speech contemptible. Let such people understand that what we say by letter when absent, we will also do when present. We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who command themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they do not show good sense. We, however, will not boast beyond limits, but will keep within the field that God has assigned to us, to reach out even as far as you. For we were not overstepping our limits when we reached you. We were the first to come all the way to you with the good news of Christ. We do not boast beyond limits, that is, in the labors of others, but our hope is that as your faith increases, our sphere of action among you may be greatly enlarged, so that we may proclaim the good news in lands beyond you, without boasting of work already done in someone else's sphere of action. Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. For it is not those who commend themselves that are approved, but those whom the Lord commends. When we seek validation by comparing ourselves to others, we are looking in the wrong place. For Paul, his validation as an apostle wasn't in his good looks or in his appealing voice, but in the fact that his commission was from God. In the same way, when we seek our validation in the faith by comparing ourselves to others, we're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe one person you admire has a richer prayer life than you, while when you pray at all you can think of is your grocery list. No matter. Maybe another person you admire seems to know the Bible backwards, forwards, and upside down, while you're doing well to find a book in the Bible without consulting the table of contents. Again, no matter. God bless them for their particular strengths. All that matters is that you have been called, chosen, and loved by God. I'm reminded of the story of the choosing of David to be king. God sent the prophet Samuel to visit Jesse, and God would reveal which of Jesse's sons would be king. When Jesse's sons gathered, Samuel took one look at Eliab and thought, and I'm paraphrasing here, now that guy looks like a king. Surely that's the one God has chosen. But God said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord does not see as mortals see. They look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. And so, after 7 brothers pass by Samuel, none of whom God chooses, Samuel asks if there is another son. Only then is David, the runt of the family, brought forward, and Samuel anoints him to be king. There's no need to compare yourself to others for validation, not in the church anyway. God has chosen you just exactly as you are. Tomorrow, will the real Jesus please stand up? But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.